Gospel according to St. Mark, the 4th chapter. On that day, when evening had come, Jesus said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind them, they took with him in their boat, and he was just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Jesus woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" They were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who is this then, that even the winds and the sea obey him?" The Gospel of the Lord. The other day, while waiting for my personal trainer, I was paging through one of the fitness magazines at the gym and ran across an article entitled "Frenzied, the New Normal." It stated the obvious, that the American lifestyle currently is really, really fast-paced. And then made some suggestion about how trainers could help their clients get a better workout by taking some time to transition between everyday life and a good training session. I had to laugh because my trainer is the personification of frenzy. He has always about 16 things going on at once. Personal trainer, massage therapist, going to school to get a master's degree in exercise physiology, ushering for the Chicago Saints, which unlike the rest of us who do it maybe once or twice a month for fun, he does as if it was his 5th job. Almost every Saturday night he is ushering. He is always on the go at full speed. The problem is, his former partner tells me, and the emphasis here is on the word former, is that when they go on vacation, he would never slow down. He would be always operating at a breakneck pace. A trip to London, for example, would be Buckingham Palace, check. Tower of London, check. Big Ben, check. St. Paul's Cathedral, check. You get the idea. He's a one-man whirlwind of activity that never dies down. People like that can make you crazy. The best I can do when I am around them is to keep my time with them as short as possible and try to be what psychologists call a non-anxious presence. Loving them as best I can, for as long as I can, but not allowing their frenzy to affect my well-being. If ever there is an example of a non-anxious presence, it is Jesus in today's gospel. He is in the midst of 2 whirlwinds. The first, caused by the storm at sea, and the second, caused by the disciples' reaction to it. This is such a familiar story that you may be tempted take it for granted. Oh, that's old hat, you might say, unless you join me in looking at the little pieces of frenzy within the story that we might not see, that we might overlook in our familiarity. This little trip across the sea was Jesus' idea. He not only sets the itinerary, but he sets the course. His disciples, being experienced fishermen, know about the dangers that a sudden storm might bring, and so if they choose to go across, they would have went around the shoreline, never leaving that shoreline out of sight. It may have taken them longer, but they would have gotten there much more safely. And if any storm came up, they could always pull into port. But Jesus suggests that they go directly across. His motto might have been, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But sometimes there is enormous risk when you put your head down and plow straight ahead. Some people follow Jesus thinking that their life will be nothing but faith, peace, and tranquility. One endless spa session. But you know, and I know, that it doesn't quite work that way. Following Jesus doesn't make the storms of life go away. There is still illness, disasters, the sudden loss of a job, underemployment. All of those outside forces do not go away when we follow Jesus. Some come from the outside, others come from the inside. In the midst of those storms, you may be tempted to cry out with the disciples, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" That's the other thing I don't want you to miss. The disciples aren't asking for a miracle. They may be only asking for Jesus to get up and lend a hand. What they want him to do is show that he cares. And isn't that what you want too? You want God to show that in the midst of the whirlwinds of life, God cares. God cares in the midst of the storms, both external and internal. Two different Greek words are used in this text that can be translated into English as fear. The first is deios. Those fears that come from the outside. The disciples were afraid that their skills were not up to handling the storm they faced. This is a rational fear. They were experienced fishermen. They had faced storms before, but this one scared them to death. This storm was one that they were afraid that they could not handle. But there are other fears. Fears that come from within. It's also hidden there in the Greek word. And the Greek is phobos. It's where we get our word phobia. It's an internal fear of something. Spiders, snakes, falling, germs. You may have never been even close to a spider. Closest you came to a snake may be the snake on the other side of the window at the Lincoln Park Zoo. Germs are all around. Or you may have never fallen more than a couple of feet. But still, you are afraid. In the most severe cases, agoraphobia, people come afraid of everything, and have panic attacks every time they are called upon to leave their house. You may not suffer from any of these, but I have seen people, and you have seen people, who are afraid to move out of their comfort zone. Perhaps you're afraid to change anything in your life because of the storm that might result. So you stay in one place, fearful, afraid that anything you do might cause a storm. Remember, Jesus isn't showing us that storms can be avoided. He is showing us that with him and his power, storms can be sailed through. But only if we do what the disciples did. They went and got Jesus. They went and woke Jesus. They roused him out of a sound sleep and were bold enough to say, Jesus, get up. We need you here. Give us a hand. We can't handle this. Some people even have a fear of doing this. It isn't that they won't get particularly angry with God when a storm comes their way. It's just that they would rather face the storm on their own, even if they frazzle themselves into a million pieces. Pastor McGuire will probably bear me out on this, but scholars are never sure whether this storm at sea story is a miracle story or a parable. It's far over my head to figure it out, but either way, it does say something to us for whom frenzy is the new normal. Your faith can withstand any whirlwind, whether external or internal, when you experience the truth that there is no storm, no threat, no chaos that can undo you because Jesus is with you. The Lord of the universe, the Almighty God, is in the boat with you. And therefore, you are ultimately safe. Jesus, God's only Son, from which nothing can separate you, is with you in the storms and frenzies of your life, giving you faith to face your whirlwinds. Give thanks for him and the peace that he brings. Thanks for listening.
the